Hello, my people. I thought I'd share with you I usually make my own battle maps. So I started the process of making my battle map for the upcoming uh, part two to the my Greyhawk campaign, Shieldlands campaign. And I'm making a custom battle map. And I usually make my own sometimes. This is going to be a 4x6 battle map. Okay. And what I use is you can go to, I went to a local Harbor Freight, right? And they sell these canvas tarps. It's canvas on one side and plastic on the other. And that's kind of critical for this build, for what I do with this, because what I do with it is you lay it canvas side up, plastic side down. And what you have is now you have a nice, essentially you have a canvas to paint on, literally. And what I will do is, what I laid it out here as, I squared up these these corners here, or these edges, and I squared it up here, as you can see here. I squared it up here, and then if you go over 6 feet, you square up that edge off of the table edge, so you get it perfectly square. Now the green and blue tape you see in the middle is the crossroads, right? So when I do all of the texturing on here, I'll texture over top of or just on top of this. These are my roads. All right, and that's going to be dead center of the board or of the mat, and then it goes essentially just the center of the mat, right? So if this is 6 feet, this is 3 foot center. It's a little bit more, I think, and maybe a little bit less. And then this side, it's 2 foot. Let me get my square. Well, here I have a yardstick here. I'll throw on it real quick. So what we're looking at here is roughly 24 inches, right? 24 and a half to the center, because this is a little bit, this table is an inch wider. I never cut it down whenever I got the MDF from Home Depot or from the box store, whatever. You can get it anywhere, 3/4 MDF. And then this way should be, yeah, 36 inches to the center. So turn it this way, 36 inches to the center. So I got a nice 4 foot by 6 foot mat, right? Now I'm going to do this in the style of the volcanic wastelands. You know, a lot of grays and darks and blacks and volcanic rock type of thing. So how do you make the mix? That'll be next part two or of this little tutorial. And I don't usually do tutorials because there's a million tutorials on YouTube. You can probably go somewhere else. The videos are more professional and done better. I'm simply just going to share with you how I do it and how I make my tables and how I do it because I enjoy crafting. And this is as much fun for me as playing battle reports. So, yeah, for me, that's I have just as much fun doing this as a hobby as anything else. So the next step would be mixing up the paints and mixing up. What I usually do is take like a black paint, I'll tint it. I could use inks, but the most important ingredient is latex caulking, watered down latex caulk mixed with everything. Throw in some sand, and then you can make a texture. I'll do that with you. I'll show you how I do it, each section, and then we'll get this going because I got to build some other pieces of terrain for this build because I don't have a lot of. I have like an orangish red wasteland type terrain. I don't know if you could see this, but I'll take you up there anyway on my table. If you go up, you can see the orange stuff. That's more like a Mars or a. I have other terrain too matching that color, but it's not supposed to be orange or yellow. It's supposed to be like basalt, gray. This is volcanic, and whatever's living here is polluted because of uh, the White Plume Mountain poisoned everything. So I want to make some new terrain for this build and for this next scenario coming up and make it look real nice. It doesn't take long, actually. A lot of good tips you can get from other builders like I said, there's a million like hobbyists out there and terrain builders that do this all the time. They may have different techniques and things that they do better than me. I have my own little thing that I do. I'm always looking to do it the cheapest that looks the best, right? But we'll get it done, and I'll just walk you through how I do it. If you get any information uh, or tips out of what I'm doing for you or building here, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too. You may find I do a couple things differently than other people. I used to be a builder by trade, so I'm familiar with a lot of newer materials to use that I like to use that I basically used in construction. You know, sawdust and um, foam. You know, 2-inch foam, 3/4 inch foam, 1/2 inch foam, that sort of thing. But we'll talk more about it as we move along. And I'm not to bore you with the details of everything. And you can ask any questions that you like, and I'll answer them as best I can on the in the comments. But like I said, this is a tarp. You can go out and get this tarp. I got this for like it was like $6. It was huge. I cut it and made roads out of it. And what it is it's once again it's canvas on one side and blue on the other. And if you're wondering what the significance of that is when you put wet materials on this canvas, it's not going to bleed through to underneath my bench, right? It's not going to bleed through to my covered bench. The plastic will allow it, and also it also inhibits shrinkage. So if you put something wet on this canvas and it starts to dry, it has a tendency to wrinkle and pull together. So you got to make sure you secure. I secured this canvas as best that I could on the ends and stretched it so when it starts to dry, it won't move too much and it won't cause like wrinkling and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's it for now. See you in the next one. So this is what the game mat looks like after you apply the topical, um, the caulking and the paint and the grit mix onto the board. And I took the uh, blue and green tape off where it shows the roads. And then for that, I took regular, a water-based caulking, and then you mix black or gray paint or whatever color paint you want for the roads. These roads are supposed to be like a basalt rock, so it's like a darker color. And I'll touch these up after this dries. I'll be doing some dry brushing and stuff on it. But as you can see, the textures here on the mat, and this is what it would look. This is what it looks like after you get this done. You let this dry. Like I'm gonna let this dry probably for like 24 hours. We'll see. It dries pretty quick. But you mix the mix. If you want to know what the mix is that I use, the proportions of the different materials that I use caulk, I use water, I use sand, sawdust, and different types of grit I put in there, and I also use like a craft paint, like a black craft paint, and mix it in there. So and craft paint comes in so many colors, it's unbelievable. But this is going to be this is the start of the game mat over here. I'm also working on some other terrain pieces for it. I got to make 6 geysers. I got to make some basalt platforms with they look like octagon. If you see like volcanic rock, you'll see the basalt formations. They look like almost like octagons or squares that come up out of the ground. And then they're topped off, right? So I have to make them in a particular way that they can actually hold 10 models on top of it in case if they want to shoot off it. The minimum is 5 and the maximum is 10 for Warlords of Erewhon. And that's a pretty good number for most games. I think Lion Rampant and Dragon Rampant goes up to Lion Rampant and Dragon Rampant go up to 12 models. So, but anyway, I'll make them big enough where I can make enough to go each quadrant. As you can see, it's got like 4 quadrants here. So that's a good way of gauging where you how many pieces you want to make. You can lay them out on here. You can lay them out in like cardboard templates, and then build from there. So, but that's where I'm at with this progress on this project. Talk to you later. Bye. Hello, welcome back to the channel as we move along to the Shieldland Knights Greyhawk campaign as we move along, moving towards Rift Canyon, and we're going to be moving up to where the White Plume Mountain is. So this is an update on the table, and as you can see, this is the finished product. This is after I mixed my mix and applied the terrain and applied the grit. It's a combination of using latex caulk, black craft paint, sand, and coarse mix, a little bit of sawdust, and you can see the detail in the map. And these roads, the crossroads you can see here coming down and across the map, and that's nothing but latex caulk spread out using a artist's palette knife, and I patched it the way I wanted to make it look like it's basalt rock from volcanic rock from White Plume Mountain. And I took some of the terrain that I have. This is the marker for the play a part in the scenario. And then we have like these larger basalt outcroppings that you can see here. The archers and different units, maybe artillery, we'll see, can get up on top of there. And this terrain favors the knolls. There's a lot of terrain for them to hide on, to use as cover if they so choose. I mean, they're pretty much in your face and in your face force anyway. But here you can see the completed map, the custom map. And I wanted to do a volcanic map this time. I have a bunch of mats over here that I use and things that I made. But once again, there's the blue-black tarp that you use to make these sort of things. And there's a ton of, I didn't do a real in-depth video on making it unless somebody asked me to do it, and I can show you like a section of one of the pieces and how I do it in my mix. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. It's not difficult at all. You can make your own game mats anytime. And I don't have a volcanic one, so that's why I did this. So I wanted to give it that rough, dead volcanic rock, basalt, outcroppings, and that sort of thing. And this stuff here, this terrain, of course, is bought. I didn't make these. I didn't make any of this stuff. But I have over my game table, I was going to make 6 geysers for this, but I'm going to use these craters as geysers because they really stand out on the table. And you'll see there's going to be some environmental things going on because we're so close to White Plume Mountain that it's going to play a part in the skirmish. And this favors the gnolls. This gnoll force we're going to be facing off against, they're not going to be the same. It's going to be the same gnoll force. It's going to be the Blood Moon gnolls. But this is like kind of their last stand. So it's going to be a little bit tougher on the knights this time around. Liberating a village is one thing with an expeditionary force to then to go toe-to-toe with the gnolls. And they may have some reinforcements. We'll see. All right. I'm going to run over to my bench real quick, and then I'm going to show you some of the things that I'm working on over there.